Welcome to our students and families. Our heads of learning would like to share some thoughts, tips and ideas on how to support our learners as they come to their final assessment period. We hope that you enjoy these tips, that they give you some sort of thought to actually have a conversation with our students and our learners, and we wish you all the best in your studies and your future after Loyola.
We're here today with Mr. Anthony Lynch, the Head of Mathematics, to talk all things VCE exams for Unit 3 and 4 coming up in Term 4. Very warm welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Let's start with the majority of our students doing maths, and that's further maths. What advice can you give them leading into the exam?
Well, for those guys, first off, contact with your teacher. Keeping in contact with them. So if there's anything that you're not sure about, get in contact with them. Then behind that, I would say that know your calculator, because this is a tech active exam both times around, so you really want to know how to use the functionality on that. On top of that as well, you're allowed your reference in both exams, so again, know your reference, and my advice around referencing is less is more. So you don't want to just fill it out with every past paper that you've done. You probably want to have some very key targeted sections. Then when you're doing your exams, your preparation, there's nothing that says that you have to do every question in order. So use your reading time to really plan your exam, what order you're going to do questions in. And then when you're doing your second exam too, look for entry points into the exam. So just because you can't do the first couple of questions doesn't mean that you can't do the second. So they'll often write their exam questions so that if you didn't get the first part, you can actually still get the second part. And then I would make sure that I'm reading the examiner's reports. They're full of fantastic information around things students did well and common errors that students did. So those are the types of things that I'd sort of say around the exam there.
Now, what about for our methods and our specialist students? What can they do leading into the exam?
Similar for those guys is on one of your exams, you're allowed your calculator. So I make sure that I know my calculator functionality, know my reference well, but same idea about when you're doing the practice, planning out how you're going to tackle your exams. So practicing that reading time and strategizing what questions you'll do first and looking for those entrance points as well. I strongly recommend, again, that you go through trial exam solutions or the VCAR examiner reports to look for those common errors that are made across the state so that you can make sure you're not one of those students.
Now, what about our parents? A lot of parents go, well, I wasn't good at maths at school, or I didn't do VCE maths. How can they support their students leading into the exam?
Well, they can support their students in being a sounding board for them. So if they notice that their children are getting a bit stressed around the exams, making sure that they do have some of that downtime and step away from their studies, they can help them set up the routine, help them keep them accountable for the routine, but also to encourage them to distribute their efforts on their studies, not try to put all their eggs in one basket, but have a nice broad approach, and also encourage them to talk to their teachers if they're not sure of how to do anything.
Great. Well, there we are, some really good advice for our maths students. I think the majority of our Year 12s are doing at least one maths, and some Year 11s as well. So we hope that advice helps you leading into the maths exam. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks, Anthony.